Yeah, I saw you. I saw you at Flappers. I didn't get to say hi, but
Yeah.
dude, you fucking crushed, man.
Thank you.
That was your last show before the big.
Yeah, Eliza's. I'm her feature. So we've been all over the place. My fiance and I just bought a house, and I think this last month I've maybe slept in it 6 times.
Well, congratulations.
Hey, thanks.
Either way.
Yeah.
So we'll get it started right now. We're with Hunter Hill. You're my spirit animal. You're like the comic. I'm like,
What?
You're a good, because I see you, and I see you just like you just said. You bought a house. You show up in your Tesla. I'm like, this dude's got it.
This dude, none of those things are mine. All of those things, my fiance might be your spirit animal. She just bought a house. She has a Tesla.
That's amazing.
And I get to drive it because I lease a Kia and I'm over my mileage allotment. So
that's what I learned with leasing. My girlfriend leases her Prius, and we'll have to like go somewhere, and she's like, "No, I'm 400 miles overdue." Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, that's how they get you."
Yeah, I'm into June's mileage right now. So if I can not drive my Kia for another 6 months, I'll be good.
And that's hard as a comic. We're running around like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, like the tour schedule's been rigorous enough to where I really haven't been driving a whole lot. But then when I'm not touring, I just opened this comedy club in Huntington Beach. So that's a commute that I have to.
That's something I wanted to ask you about, but I want to get into that. I want to get first because I love chatting with people I don't really know because I get a chance to like make a friend. Yeah. It's so sad. This is our sandbox. No. This is our like adult sandbox.
Really
like, will you do my podcast?
No, it's good.
And when a guy says no, I'd never forget.
Crushed. Just
only one has said like actual flat out, let me check it out, and then he never got back. And I was like, oh, that's.
Oh, no.
Most people are very cool. Like we have, and I like to have people on like returning. Like I like to get to know people, and then I feel like it's like when you like chart a whale's progress through. You know what I mean?
I'm like circle back. You can go deeper on the second time because then you have that foundation.
Yeah, like I had my friend Heather on, and then she got married. And then divorced, and she's engaged again.
That's so much.
I've literally charted her life.
How much time?
Not a lot. She's lesbian, and she's the one who tells me that lesbians jump into things fast.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Whereas heterosexual couples, I think men are a little more hesitant because when you
what an emotional gauntlet.
Yeah.
Get married, get divorced, get engaged again.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Check out the back episodes, folks.
Yeah.
It's crazy because it's like, you gotta, I mean, I don't know, me, like, I want to get engaged to Tasha, my girlfriend. She's not on the episode for those listening. She's working as us non-workers are hanging out. Mondays are great for podcasting for me, by the way. It's just like, let's restart the day. You come over right when street sweeping ends.
This is very nice.
Yeah. So it's like, I know the second I get down on my knee, I'm going to have to get ready for the wedding. And then I know she doesn't want kids, but I know she will. I know that's going to happen. It's biology. I get it.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to stall. I'm just like not ready for that part yet.
When you saw me at Flappers, did you see the timers joke?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So what you're talking about is like a huge fear that I had. Just like once you start one thing, all the other things are going to start rolling out.
Because you guys you're engaged.
We got engaged in early December.
And you did kind of a big...
I did a big to-do.
Big to-do.
Yeah.
You have to.
I don't talk about it on stage because I feel like every guy in the audience would just be like, I don't like this guy.
Yeah, like, fuck. I
don't like him.
My uncle proposed to his now wife on a rock, and she doesn't live it down. He like sat her down on a rock, and she doesn't... And I'm kind of of that mentality. Like, if I can make this not a Jumbotron moment, that would be nice. It has to be with no one else around. It has to be.
Right, yeah. Ours was not a Jumbotron. She's from Seattle. Her dream engagement was like to be walking down a city street in the rain and just to have the guy, whoever the guy was, ask and then have a bunch of her friends waiting at a bar. It doesn't rain in Los Angeles ever. So we'd been looking at this house that we wanted to buy, and it looked like we were going to close on it. So I called the person who owned the house, and I was like, I want to build a rain rig in the front yard of your home. Can I get on your roof and do everything before inspections? And
you're right. Guys would hate you if they heard that story. Yeah. I'm so glad Tasha's not hearing that right now.
Yeah. No, I legitimately made it rain in the front yard of our
At what
first
point
home.
did it all click for her?
It didn't click right away. At first, I told her that I had a show that I had to go on. And
That's a great, yeah.
I told her it was like, it's like a fancier place, so I'm going to like wear a coat. And maybe you should, I don't want you to stand out, but I want you to come hear the new material.
Yeah.
And it worked perfectly. Like, she legitimately thought I had a show. And then I was like, oh, let's drive by the house we want to buy. We haven't seen it at nighttime. Let's go look at it.
Amazing.
And we walked down the street, and first she could hear it, but she thought it was just sprinklers. And then once, like, it started, like, actually hitting our bodies, she instantly knew, like, oh, my God.
Dude, I'm going to cry listening to that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
How many people how did you pull that off?
Her dad. Originally, I called a bunch of rental warehouses that just do production work, and I was like, yeah, you guys have rain rigs. Like, yeah, just come by.
Oh, it's so LA.
Yeah.
That you even have that option.
You
can do rain, right?
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, just come by. And then I went by, and they're like, no, you need like an EIN number, you need insurance, you need a letter of recommendation to work with us. And I was like, oh, well.
Union stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was like, can I just see what it looks like? And it looked just like some pipes with sprinklers on it. So I called her dad, and her dad met me early the morning of the proposal, and we went to Home Depot, spent like $60 on piping and sprinklers, and went over to the house, installed it all, used duct tape to tape all the pipes black so you couldn't see them at nighttime, and
that's incredible.
And then she said
yes. She said yeah. Well, that's as funny as during your set you talked about proposing, and then someone in the audience, I think, heckled and was like, "What did she say?"
Yeah. What did she say? Yeah, she said yes. I got the ideal response.
That's amazing. Well, congrats.
Thank you,
How
man.
long were you dating before you knew? This is a question I've been asking a lot.
That's a good question.
Not to leverage it against my relationship, but a lot of times when Tasha finds out someone was dating for, say, 2 years and they got engaged, she'd be like, babe, see? And I'm like, we're getting there, honey. We're getting there.
That 2 years to me would be insane. Just because, like, I've loved her forever, but
well, let's rewind then. How did you guys meet?
We met on Tinder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And we talked via text and Tinder for like 3 months. And when we matched on Tinder, like, I was at a weird place in my life. My mom essentially was trying to get divorced but couldn't afford to get divorced, and was relying on like somebody else to pay half the rent. So I was living in Orange County. I sold my car, moved to the Valley, and like started paying half of her rent and waiting tables up there just so she could get out of a bad thing.
Okay.
So I got really excited because I had matched with this girl that seemed great, but I didn't want to go out on the date because I felt like we're going to have a really good time on the date, but 3 months from now you're going to resent me because I don't have a car, because I live with my mom, because I'm doing all these things.
And comedy.
And comedy, yeah.
And girls, and unless they see the light at the end of the tunnel, I mean, if you can make a girl laugh on stage, at least you show her like, hey, I've got a skill. But then they're like, yeah, but how soon?
Right. And even like, I think our second date was I did Peachy Keen at Bar Lubitsch when that show was around, and the lineup was something stupid. Like it was like Todd Glass, Pete Holmes, Kumail Nanjiani, and Sarah Silverman.
Okay.
And she didn't know who any of them were.
Amazing.
And me. So it was like me and then all these
That was the first time
superstars.
you met her?
That was the first time she saw me
Oh,
do
that's the first time she
stand-up.
saw you do stand-up. Most guys wouldn't let a girl see them do stand-up till the... I mean, but that's a good location, I guess.
It was a good location. It was a good lineup. Like, I felt like I'm going to look really cool.
Yeah, of course. And how long were you into stand-up?
Maybe like 2 years at that point.
So not you weren't gonna, she wasn't seeing an open mic for sure. She was seeing.
Yeah,
you had favorable chances to impress her.
I had jokes that were dialed in. They're jokes that I'm like embarrassed by now, but like
sure.
For in that moment, I was great. Me now would be very embarrassed by what she saw, but and it went well, and I was never against her seeing stand up. Like when you spoke about like 2 years getting engaged, I feel like for the first year and a half of our relationship, it was me explaining like, there's this thing called comedy in my life, and it is so important. And if you can't understand that, then this isn't going to work. And there'd be points where she would like try to give me notes, and my body would just like tense up and be like, no, this isn't your thing. This is my thing.
Really?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't take her notes?
No, at first it was like, it wouldn't even, And it had nothing to do with her notes. It was just like, this is my world. You don't know anything about this.
Sure.
And now we've been together a little over 4 years. And I think around like the 3-year mark, when she would start to give me notes, it wasn't even that, like, of course I was able to hear the note, but she had been around comedy so much. So she'd be able to give me great insight. Like, hey, when you say this, you think the audience is hearing this, but what they're really hearing is this.
Exactly.
And it was kind of just
that's a good
life hack.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, my girlfriend's more binary. Like, oh yeah, like she'll know if it didn't go well. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I don't really invite her to the. I mean, I'm not trying to impress her. Like
right.
She's seen sets where it's at a weed bar and the audience is like baked,
right.
and just not gonna have a good set. And she whatever. She's seen good sets, so it's kind of like. You still want to impress them, but at the same time, I think they understand that.
Ashton, yeah, I mean, for the most part, honestly, now it's just work. People are always like, "Is Ashton here? Is Ashton here?" It's like, no, like, I try to get up like 6 to 10 times a week. Like, there's no way she's coming to all these, and there's only like so many little chunks of new material that I'm working on at a time. So she doesn't come all the time. I feel like if it's like an important thing for me or like a little finish line that I'm crossing, that she'll come. Like,
yeah,
I just got to open for Iliza on her Netflix special that comes out in a few months. So she surprised me and flew up the morning of. I didn't know
really?
She was doing that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into that. So Iliza Shlesinger, she's a lot of people listening, they're all over the world. They're not all into comedy. She won Last Comic Standing years ago.
Yes.
And this is her fourth special or third?
This is going to be her fourth.
This is her fourth Netflix special. So she's a beast on stage. She's a killer. And
dude, she's she's a beast. She's honestly like, and this like, it's insane how much I've learned from her. Like, her work ethic is insane.
Amazing.
Insane. A story, I don't know if she'd want people hearing this, but a story I like to tell a lot just to explain the work ethic is like, there was a weekend at the Helium in Portland where she had the flu, and she was so sick, and it would be like the host is on stage and she's just in the bathroom like vomiting, a feature on stage, just still in the bathroom, and it's just like, ladies and gentlemen, Iliza Shlesinger, and she just wipes her mouth, goes out there for an hour like nothing's wrong, gets off stage, goes right to the bathroom, and then does the second show again where it's the same thing.
Jeez.
And it's like, I've caught out sick from waiting tables for having like a cough, and you can somehow just the muscle discipline that must go into being able to shut your body.
And she's a big comic. She's big energy. She's not up there just
she's super physical.
You are too, by the way.
Am I?
I haven't seen. Yeah, dude. Yeah, you're. And this is important because they always say like if you. I heard this that if you have to yell a punchline, it's not funny. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, fuck, I got a lot of punchlines where I'm yelling. but that's. What you do is you are in such control of your voice with telling the story, drawing people in, and then acting the character that's got that emotion. It's really because I had only had you on. We did a show once when I did that like fraternity show, which whatever. It was fun. Yeah, it was cool. I'm trying to do more. I'm trying to do more of those, but those fraternities are so insulated. Like, it's hard.
It is a hard community to tap into.
I know, and I love the idea of them, but I just can't imagine, the more I do the improv space at UCLA, the more I'm like, oh, I hate college students. Because they're like, dude, fuck yeah, we love stand-up. And then they go walk into the room and you go, oh, please leave. This is not good.
Please.
But so, yeah, that wasn't like a place, and that was probably, 3 years ago, which is crazy. That was the only time I kind of really got a chance to even say hi to you, really. But so you're opening for Iliza. How long has that been? A couple of years now?
Yeah, a couple years. It started out, I started a show in LA called Super Secret Comedy Show, which kind of gave me a non-threatening way to talk to a lot of comics that I just looked up to. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes as a comic, it's harder to go up and talk to a comic.
You got to offer them a spot.
Or
as a way to just be like, hey, I've produced a show.
Even if you're like a comic, just, hi, I'm a comic and I really like you, I feel like part of them just kind of clicks off sometimes where it's like, oh, I can't help you, or they don't know why you're coming up to talk to them.
Exactly.
Whereas like being able to offer them a set on like a show that was great was like a really non-threatening way to just pick people's brains and perform in front of them and watch them and how they work. And I think I got really like Iliza. I think had like just gotten back from like an adult summer camp where they like take all your phones away and they just like detox you.
No way.
And she just watched my set one night, which is weird because comics don't usually watch other comics, especially if you're an established comic.
You wouldn't watch the host.
Yeah, if you're like
unless it was for
player.
you, unless you wanted to see like who's in the audience and have something to work off of. But yeah, that's like an old school way of doing it, where you would respect the other comic by watching them.
Yeah.
That's like what you only hear old-timer headliners talk about. Like, no, you respect the lineup. And it's like, here we're like, no, we get out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't expected. And I just got off stage, and she said, you said this one thing that was really great. And I was just like, wow, nobody was actually in the room. Usually they're just backstage.
Was this at the Lyric?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just from that one little door that opened, if people were doing sets at like the San Francisco Punchline or the Sacramento Punchline, I would just lie and say like, hey, I'm already going to be up there. Can I do a guest spot? And I would drive up there and not get paid and put myself up and do the 5 minutes. But it was just, I think the thing that I learned very quickly was that time that you can spend with comics outside of LA is much more impactful than like at a comedy club. Because like if I'm at the Comedy Store, and it could be anyone. Neil
Everyone's
Brennan,
got their
Anthony
head looking over the shoulder for the next person.
Everyone's trying to talk
hard
to
not
somebody.
To. Yeah.
And it's just its own little ecosystem where, there's some people I know really well, but like if we're at the Comedy Store, it's like maybe I'll get a nod, you know?
Yeah.
So just to start being the only comic, we'd go to Sacramento and they'd have a host and a feature there. But it would be like I would be the one comic from LA. So it kind of just felt, this is a weird tangent. I don't know how to get out of this.
This is before you were opening for, you're saying?
Yeah.
Like that it just felt,
I
because...
would just drive up and do the guest set until it was like, oh, this guy's not a creep and he's funnier than the hosts that the clubs are putting up.
You're just basically footing the cost to audition on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing that at Madhouse. I've already played there years ago, but there's new owners or management, and so they're like, "Are you come down to do a guest spot?" And it's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll come down. It's not a paid spot, but I'll do my 10 minutes, and hopefully you'll like that, and then you'll, whatever." But yeah, that's the way it works.
Yeah, I just pretty much invested in myself.
But then to have a comic vouch for you, it's almost like when you mentioned the Rain gig, you need a union recommendation.
Right.
You need a headliner recommendation to be like, book this guy.
Right.
Book this. Oh, okay. Eliza says book this guy? Yeah, okay, absolutely. Because they don't know the difference between you and the 50 emails a day or more that they get.
Yeah, and I mean, so much of it has to do with how many tickets you can move. It's been amazing to me, like, there's comics that I love who I think are so funny, but they don't sell that many tickets, so they just don't get booked that much. Where there's comics who, like, there's YouTube comics who I don't think are funny at all, but they sell out arenas and
when there's so many comics that I don't want to call them lazy, but we have this tendency to be like, well, I work on my stage time, and then the business side of things we just let go. And I saw a comic today post that they were quitting their podcast because they didn't have the time or resources to do it. And I'm not going to judge them. I've never seen a podcast, but I was like, I can't afford not to do the podcast. That's my lifeline to 10,000 people a month.
Yeah.
Hopefully more. Subscribe, rate, and review. But like and hopefully that 10,000 becomes 150,000 and then 2 million, because those are the people that are going to be like, hey, Dave's in Indy, bring my 6 friends. And that's how you kind of get that fire going.
Absolutely. You have to build your audience. I was talking to Jay Larson and Ryan Sickler. They have a podcast called The Crab Feast.
Okay.
I think they've been doing it forever. I think 6 years they've been doing it, and they do it every Tuesday, and they've never missed a single Tuesday.
Yeah.
And just the discipline and the work that goes into doing that, especially like, I would love to start a podcast, and I'm so glad you have one. But it just like as life evolves, like these guys have kids now and a family, and they still do it every Tuesday. Mm-hmm. But that is their lifeline. They have 350,000 listeners or more than that a month now, and
that's amazing.
And it's just you have to keep at it. People say stuff like that a lot, and what they're saying is this isn't something that I love enough, or I don't have the chemical imbalance that is necessary to make this dream work.
Sure.
So I'm going to go over here and do something else.
Yeah, and they could maybe, who knows what the medium is, but yeah, it's and you got to be able to survive on stage, but also like you said, Phil, get people to show up. And in LA, that stage time isn't always at a comedy club. It's like I have no problem. I live near that Karma Lounge. I have no problem going over there. I do the last set. I try to do the last set on the open mic. I think it's on Wednesdays because it's right before the burlesque show. So everyone who's there for the burlesque show has to watch me first, and that's my thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm getting
that's an audience.
Yeah, that's an audience. If it's 3 people, I think is my minimum. Two is fine. But
that's a great exercise.
When you guys are doing the Flappers main room, I don't know, 250, 300 people. It's a big room.
I'm not sure what that. I think it's 250, I would think.
I was in the Yoo-Hoo room for 4 people.
I've done that room.
So we could hear
there are literal crickets that live in that room. I've done that.
We could hear your audience.
Oh, no.
No. But with those 4 people, it was still productive. I went back 2 nights later, Thursday night, and they had to turn people away in that room. And it was probably one of the best sets I've had, or most fun sets I've ever had, because it was completely packed, tiny room. So it's just, that's the ego kind of like needing that packed room. But when you break it down, you realize, all right, I can get a workout when there's 2 couples in here waiting for the burlesque show. I can see if they're going to look up from their phone and notice me. And
LA is the best ego check you could ever put yourself. Like, I've been featuring, I think I've been traveling with Iliza for a couple years now.
Do you keep track of how many shows?
I don't.
Roughly?
I just made her a birthday present / end of tour present. And I counted approximately how many people she made laugh on the last tour. Her last special, not the one that's coming out, but the last one's called Confirmed Kills. So we've been on the Confirmed Kills tour for about a year and a half. And so I got her this bomber jacket made. She hasn't got it yet, but has her name, like one of those Velcro patches. And then there's a tally mark down the sleeve for every 1,000 people she made laugh.
Jeez.
So she's just like 47 tally marks just running down the arm. So that's something I kept track of. But we'll go out and do these, like, she works so hard, and she also just meets with all of her fans, like, after every show.
Yeah, it's amazing. You see her fans will bring like posters and gifts, and this. It's like that's how you know you've got currency.
They bring gifts. They make their own merch. Her fans like know me. It's
yeah. How has that worked for you? Like as far as, because you're I would say the only similarity I know of you guys is that you're both like high energy, kind of like you could really kill a big room. How would you say that? You said you've learned a lot from her. What exactly has run off?
Just the work that it takes. I mean, what inspires me is like with this new special that's going to come out in a few months. There's these little moments that her and I have lived through that are now these huge jokes. Like we did the Venetian in Vegas about a year and a half ago, and she has now 30 minutes worth of material from that trip to Vegas. So it's just seeing the way...
Her club material? Girls in the club?
Yeah, and the pools and all that. Like, literally, like, that was less than 48 hours in Vegas, but now she has 30 minutes worth of material. There's a new joke she has coming out about seeing a baby in an airport. And then, like, I know we were at the Burbank airport. We were going to Tempe. And then in Tempe, she saw a guy in embroidered jeans. And now there's an embroidered jeans joke. So it's just, like, all these little observations that turn into these, like, brilliant, well-structured jokes. And just the work ethic. Like, I think there's, like, a stigma and a lot of people that think stand-up comedy is just, like, this big party and, like, drugs and alcohol and party. But just like traveling.
We missed that generation. We're all just neurotic.
It's like hot tea, blueberries, and water.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. And it's just repetition. And
I mean, so what's the dynamic like if, like, I'll use myself as an example. If I were to, I just auditioned for something with my girl. We both auditioned separately, my girlfriend and I, and it's shot in Mexico. Oh. Neither one of us got it. But last year we got a thing together in Mexico, so we got to go to Mexico together. But if I got that role in Mexico and she didn't, no way. Like, would she? I mean, she would have been happy for me because I don't want to throw her under the bus. But she would be like, "The fuck, I want to go to Mexico."
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost become, which sounds kind of weird saying it, but like two young siblings fighting over who gets the remote control. And so your girlfriend's got to deal with the fact that you get to go to the Venetian or travel all over the country, but you're doing your job.
Yeah.
And that's your dream. But like, how do you massage the relationship to keep your fiance happy while you're on the road?
There's a few things. One, let her come on the road and see how much it's not a vacation. You know, it's waking up at 5 a.m. to go do morning radio and running home to take a nap before you have to be at the club for a tech run through or sound check, and then you're at the venue until 1 a.m. and then, you know, sometimes you'll be in a different market or city the next day where you have to be there at their radio station. So it's, you know, when we're doing fun things like the Venetian, like of course Ashton came with me to the Venetian and we did Vegas together. She had friends fly in.
Oh, nice.
There's definitely weekends where it's fun, but I think the best way to do it is just to include them. So, I mean, you and your girlfriend, like, you guys are both in the same line of work, so like you guys kind of understand what's required and what's taken from you and what's expected. She, you know, comes from Seattle, so she's much more like just everyone in most parts of the country. People grow up, they go to college, they get a 9-to-5 job, they work in a corporate structure, and that's where you find your stability. And then we kind of live in this like fairy tale land where it's like everyone's an Uber driver, everyone's really trying to do this, and because there's no like set like how to do this, it kind of seems unrealistic, and people just assume that it's like a fun thing.
I get this a lot. Must be nice.
Yeah.
Even my sister, did you just wake up? Yeah, it's like 8 a.m., which is, by the way, the latest I'll ever sleep in. I'm up at 7 every day, making my girlfriend coffee, getting ready to go. But my sister's just had her 4th baby, and she's like, oh, must be nice. I'm like, no, I'll be up till midnight or 2 or whatever, just tweaking things. I spent the morning updating a thumbnail for a YouTube video because we just unboxed sex toys.
Nice.
So I'm like, hey, honey, do you, I like had to crop a dildo, and I was like, does this look too big? Because I like zoomed in. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, no, I don't enjoy.
This is what I want to be.
I just want people to click this so that they come to a show, so I can buy you the ring, so we can but you know, I guess that it's, you know, got to stay positive, and I hate to be the guy at the comedy club being like, you know, kicking dirt and being all upset. Like we're there to make the audience happy, or at least that's a good byproduct.
Yeah,
but it's work, and there's a lot under that iceberg. You know, there's a lot going on under the surface that, you know, the girlfriends and fiancés have to become aware of.
There's so much work. Even if you ignore the work that actually goes into writing a joke and how many times you have to tell that thing until it becomes funny, and just like how to sculpt an idea, still just like the going to the airport, getting on an airplane, getting off the airplane, going to a hotel, like it's exhausting. And then, you know, doing your set, which can be physically and emotionally exhausting, and then meeting everyone after the show, which is awesome, but also still like emotionally draining. And that's
where you don't want the girlfriend near. Right, because
she's fine with it.
Oh, she's cool with just letting you be. No, I'm only saying that because if I have like a show at like a wine bar on a Friday night, I'll be like, hey, Tasha, you should come to the show. We'll get a drink after. It's not exactly date night. It's not exactly quality time, but it's a little bit of both. And then and by the way, I've totally blown that where I thought I was doing the right thing, and she's like, babe, I'm not, you know, following you around. I was like, no, I just had 2 different spots and we got to hang. And she's like, but it's still,
I totally do the same thing, and it's like it's us being selfish and wanting to do the thing that we love with the person we love,
right?
But then
that's exactly what it is
for her. It feels like I'm not just here to follow you around and be like a consolation prize, you know, like they want to be on the forefront of your mind, and not they want to be the A team, not the B team.
Yeah. And yes, well, I had a show at the Brea Improv, I think. Yeah, it was years ago, and it was right after the show, and I was like, let's just hang for a minute. And what I really wanted, which sounds so pathetic, was for the audience to be like, hey, good set, Dave. Hey, where can we find you?
Yeah.
That type of thing you kind of do. You kind of be the mayor right after the set, and you just say hi to people, and you forget they exist. And I didn't kind of explain that. I was like, no, just hang, let's be, and it turned into this fight because I got resentful that she wanted to go home, but she didn't want to be in Brea. When she's like, the show's over, let's go. And I'm dealing with, she's an introvert. I would consider myself an extrovert, but I also love my alone. Like once we're done with this today, I'm going on a hike. I'm going to stare at people, but I'm not going to talk to them. I'm just going to walk around and think about things in my head. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, like I've had to learn that she's doesn't love the riding sidekick to me if she thinks I'm only dragging her around. So I've had to, so now we're, years in where I can be like, this is a show. Oh, you got to come to the show. It's a backyard house party show. It'll be fun. And then she gets to laugh and have fun. And it does become fun. I've learned which shows are those versus which are me working. Cause it's like, I would have much preferred to do the Brea show by myself, talk to the people after and done my job and come home and unwind on the ride and all that. But yeah, I've had to learn that I guess I just feel guilty if I'm out doing shows and she's at home, but she's probably sleeping. Like she's actually like loves her alone time. She's like, watch, she'll just hang out, whatever. But I'm the one who feels guilty that I'm not there for her on a night. You know what I mean?
I 100% know what you're talking about. I think setting an expectation, because honestly, the hanging back and shaking hands after a show is just as important. That's the job just as much as telling jokes.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart doesn't sell out stadiums just because he's funny. He sells out stadiums because when he was just starting out, he built his own email list before anyone was thinking about that.
Right.
And he would just stay after every show and collect emails. So that way, when he went back, he had people to reach out to. And I totally understand the feeling selfish, but the truth is, you and your lady have been together long enough. She knows that this is what you want to do with your life and that this is part of it. You are working, and having to work sucks, and that's part of a relationship.
It's like a video game. We solve an issue, and then we unlock the next one. And I don't mean to say this like every day is crisis mode.
Yeah.
But when I solve that Brea issue, that's not going to happen again. That's just not going to happen. I'm not dumb. We're like men. We're dumb. We just assume the girl wants what we want and everything. And that's like the 5 love languages I always talk about. Is how I know how I want to be loved.
Loves those 5 languages.
Yeah. I know how I want to be loved, but boy, is it not how she needs to be loved. Mm-hmm. I am not a quality time guy. I did a set. I had a good show. I can come home now and tell my girlfriend, hey, things went well and I'm in a good mood. I'm not like let's spend the weekend together. Let's go,
Really?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of both. Again, getting back to the setting the expectation thing, Ashton came with me on a run of shows we did, New York, DC, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. And I think she was very excited, we're going on tour. This is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
So, we'd have to drive from DC to Baltimore for the show, which isn't that long of a drive. But then on the drive, she's like, all right, tonight I want to go to a restaurant with a view. We got to do crab cakes. That's a great Baltimore thing. And
yeah.
I was like, hon, I want to do all that stuff with you, but we're not going to do any of it. We're the thing that Baltimore's doing tonight. We're going to get done with work and everything's going to be shut down.
Yeah.
We're not going to be having time. So just and now she just understands,
But you could sneak in a morning or you just have to work around the fact that I was like, what stand up is, it's you're there to make other date nights happen.
Absolutely.
And especially with your audience, where Eliza's audience is, I think that's what my favorite audiences are the ones that are dudes that, trying to please their new girlfriend. Mm-hmm. They're hanging out there. Or, I don't care what their relationship status is, but I can really pick apart and be with that audience and feel really comfortable with them. But at the same time, we're alone on stage. And I'm not trying to, I would love I would love the quality time where my girlfriend can come on tour with me. I would love that. I'm not saying I'm need to be traveling alone, but I guess this is true. The amount of quality time she needs is more than me. So by fulfilling her quality time, I'm not bottlenecking myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just naturally get it. We've learned how to at least once a week have a good day where we kind of just really chill out, do our stuff. Go to whatever friend's birthday, this or that. Does she let you know beforehand? I think you. Yeah, I don't want to burn your jokes, but you had such a good joke about how the women. I'll paraphrase. It was your fuse joke.
Yeah.
Women, they don't really give you much of a notice sometimes. when
they don't.
when that well is dry.
When I'm trying, like, if I'm coming home from a run of shows in like a town, like I'll always make the phone call and be like, "Hun, what is your expectation for the day?" Like, because I'm coming home, I'm tired, I'm on empty, but like she might be like, "We're going to a farmer's market," or like all this stuff.
It's so cliche and so true.
Yeah, it's just like I want to. If that's what she's expecting, I want a heads up, a little bit of a runway, so I can just mentally get ready to be whatever she needs me to be. And I'll do lots of things like, man, like the past few months have been like impossible for us. We got engaged. Shortly after that, we survived a natural disaster. And
were you up by the fires?
We were in Montecito during the mudslides.
Is that north? That's north?
Yeah, by Santa Barbara. We were
No
literally
way.
helicoptered out by the Army.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We've been like going to trauma therapy. It's a whole thing. And then we moved into our first house while I've been touring. So like I was in Nashville for 6 shows. And
the grass must be nice there after the rainfall that you gave it. You give it the nice.
Oh, in the front yard?
Yeah. Got at least a couple weeks where the grass is nice.
I thought you were like making an insensitive mudslide joke for a
Oh,
little
no.
bit. I was like, what? No.
That's my forte, insensitive mudslide.
No, our front yard is it's great.
But everything's okay. Everything's okay for the mudslide with.
Yeah. I mean, not like grand scheme of things. A lot of people's lives were.
Did you post
destroyed.
a video about it? Did I see that?
A few of them.
Posted some videos where like you just never think when I'm from the East Coast.
Yeah.
No mudslides, no fires.
Yeah.
None of that shit. So you don't think of like how it could literally sweep away homes.
I mean, a mudslide sounds like a fake thing. It doesn't sound like something that would happen in America, which is horrible because of course these things can happen anywhere. But it's just like. When I picture the word mudslide in the headline, it's like a country I haven't heard of.
Yeah, some Bangladesh issue.
Which is not to belittle it or anything. It's just not something that I associate with close to home. So yeah, we were okay. Where Ashton and I were sleeping was 100 feet away from the mudslide. So like,
which would have swept you away.
Yeah, so we would have been the next structure to go, and half of the 27 people died.
Oh my gosh!
And 150 homes were destroyed. And
was it just like just a crazy?
Oh,
like right when it hit, did you even know what was happening?
Yeah, it was a lot. It felt the noise because it triggers me every time I land now. But like when an airplane hits a runway and it starts braking, and just that roar of inertia.
Sure.
That's what it sounded like. And there's also a gas line explosion behind our house. It was a whole thing that we would live through. So we went through that, and then we got our house, which we're so excited because after the mudslide, we were homeless essentially because even though our house was okay, all the roads, bridges, and everything around it, we couldn't. I don't think her parents are still back in the house.
Oh, that was her parents.
Yeah,
lived
we were
in
visiting
Montecito.
her parents.
Gotcha. Montecito. That's where like the Oprah.
Yeah,
Oprah.
Yeah,
they all
super super affluent neighborhood. And I think we got, in general, we got pretty lucky because there was a mandatory evacuation that we ignored.
As you do.
Yeah.
Every hurricane I've heard of in New England. Yeah. Nice. All right. We'll duct tape the windows.
Mudslide. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
We ignored it, but I think the death count, I mean, with 150 homes just gone, I mean, if this didn't happen in an affluent neighborhood where like people's vacation homes are and where
people living 10 people in a 2-bedroom or
right, like I mean just like square footage, if you like took this blueprint or like mapped out like what the mudslide affected and like dropped it into like any other neighborhood,
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, it would just
building structures,
like everything gone. So we're very lucky in that sense. And then we moved into our house, and I was gone the whole time. So it was just a lot for both of us to go through, like almost die, and then you're grappling with like, why am I still
That's something
here?
that you say when you say almost die. It almost sounds dramatic, but it's true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we get it. You almost said, no. Like that's wild. I mean, it really does put into perspective. Like, what are the little things? What matters? Who's by your side? Like, I'll get in stupid fights with my girlfriend, and then all of a sudden, I'll just have this kind of like epiphany of like, oh, none of this matters. I love her. Like, none of this stupid shit matters. you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be the guy who doesn't say I love you and then gets in an accident because we live in this city's waiting to kill, this ready to kill people. I mean, I see accidents and crazy shit, and it's just and I haven't even been here for like a big earthquake, but you just see, it's about cherishing those that have decided to like be a part of your life because it's a decision we make, you know?
I mean, we made it out with a backpack a piece. So like for 3 weeks I was living out of a backpack, and I needed after living through everything, I needed nothing else. It wasn't like, man, I wish I had this, man, I wish I had that. It was like, this is my backpack, these are my 2 pair of jeans, these are my 3 shirts.
Wow.
I'm stoked. And people, there's just no way for people to understand or to comprehend what people, like the question we got a lot was like, oh my God, is your house okay? It wasn't like, oh my God, are you guys okay? It was like, oh, is your house okay? So it's just like where we put value is very important. And it's not like I'm expecting anything more from people. Unless you've been through something like that, it really doesn't.
Sure.
It doesn't come close.
I can't fully understand like PTSD, but my father had it. He's passed away. He was Vietnam vet. So like, and I've met people that have been really affected by different things. I was in an accident and had just for a few weeks, like I had a dude who I was at the Improv and I just got on a really bad accident. I got sideswiped from the left and and I'm fine, whatever. I mean, I have neck problems, you know, if my lawyer's listening, I do, but you know, it's been 28 months. So
isn't it funny that we don't want to feel bad for ourselves or or let people know that like,
I just did a 4-hour deposition where I explained everything that's wrong with my body.
I'm fine. I'm going to be fine, but my neck will never be the same, but I'm fine.
Yeah. Like if you notice, I can't like look like this for more than 3 minutes where I like lock up, but I'm fine. But in that moment, I'm not trying to make this like my thing is like a mudslide. But in that moment, I can't remember. Jeff Carasalis has he's a comic who's got like a big Harley Davidson, and I was like high fiving a buddy, like doing that like bro kind of handshake hug thing, and he turned his motorcycle on outside the Improv, and I was like, I just jumped, and I was like, oh, I'm fucked up. Yeah. And it was kind of just like I was jumping for a little bit. When a car would come to the left, but it's your body just like imprinted this adrenaline into your like memories, and that's what it is, and it's going to be the physical effects of landing an airplane and the little things. And I'm glad you know that you're a little fucked up about it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Because a lot of people don't. They go, they internalize and they beat themselves down. He goes, no, share your issue with some like professionals.
I mean, we're talking to professionals about it, and also like a huge part of my job is just talking to people. So I mean, it's a horrible thing, and I don't think there's there's nothing funny about it. But I'm trying to find funny ways to talk about it, just so. Because when I get up on stage and I'm not talking about it, it just kind of seems disingenuous.
And you have the right to.
Hey guys, here's this big secret you guys don't know.
Yeah. No, you have the right to share your story, and it's weird. It's weird how like, you can share your story and someone be like, yeah, but you didn't serve 4 years in Iraq, and it's like, well, everyone's got their own thing. Yeah. And not that like that's maybe a bad example, but people are always trying to one up each other. Online is like, and you're gonna on stage and stand up, you kind of like the core thing you're doing is complaining. Like in one way or another, you're complaining about something. I don't know about you, but I always try to make myself the sort of, I don't want to say the victim, but the guy who gets shit on in the story. Like because you got to like punch down, and you've done jokes where like you talk about your size, you're a big guy, and it's like that's how you get the audience to be like, oh,
we like him,
yeah, and that's something as a dude on stage you have to dance around because you're a good looking guy, No, you're a good looking guy. You're the you got the Vince Vaughn hug. How tall are you?
6'4".
I hit on people at 43 minutes. That's when I get into the hitting. Yeah. But yeah, like it's you have to frame the stories in a way where people know that you're the victim without overly. You
need to be sincere. I think audiences are such a weird thing. I talked to Moshe Kesher about it once, but he said audiences, it's almost like watching like a herd of wild gazelle run in an open field because they're not verbally communicating with each other in any way, but in an instant you'll see them all turn right or all turn left. And it's just audiences can be the same way where they're with you and all of a sudden they're not. And I think when they decide to turn, it's often because something just comes across as disingenuous or not sincere or a lie, and they can tell. And just in the second you lie to them, sometimes it just click off like, oh, this is all fake. This is just a show.
Yeah. That's what's hard to me with doing jokes that you might have already polished up, but you still have to do them. Like, a lot of times we want to build new jokes and this and that, but sometimes you got to do these old faithfuls if you're doing them in front of a certain crowd where you're, and you have to. And the hardest part when I watch comics, I was opening when I moved to LA, I was opening for Craig Shoemaker. He's like a 30-year vet. Yeah. He's done it forever, and he's got jokes that are probably several decades old, and he makes them. And it makes the audience feel like they're the first ones hearing it. And there's something about this just happened to me that makes, I think, that sells like the joke versus someone who's just like, I don't know, just reading the lines, I guess. You know, I don't know. It's like
just going through the motions.
Yeah, and that's something I learned more in LA is like LA is kind of so actor centric that you really do see people perform the shit out of their jokes out here. Not to say that New York doesn't, but I wasn't that far along in New York when I was doing stand up where you'd really see people perform these jokes to the point where they're got it so solid and it's so fresh. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't spent much time. I just went to New York for the first time this year for like a week.
Oh, really?
And did like 3 shows.
Did you like New York or no?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I love the people of New York.
Yeah.
But as a city, I think it's mostly buildings.
Yeah.
You know, I would go out there and I would love to spend weeks and weeks and weeks with the people that I know and love in New York.
It's
I got
a great.
very tired quickly of like, okay, this is Times Square. I was like, oh, there's a Statue of Liberty, huh? Do you want to go on a tour of it? And I was just like, no. I
always tell people that no, we got it. That's it. I had a textbook. I know what it looks like. I always tell people it's if people visited Times Square. I'm sorry, if people visit New York, I don't expect them to like it. But if you live there, you go, it's the greatest city in the world.
The energy is like undeniable. So I picked up on that right away. But I think because it was my first time there, Ashton was pushing me like we got to go to Central Park, we got to go to Times Square, we got to World Trade Center.
Women love, and it's not so hacky, but women love this. But there's so many things in society right now. You're not allowed to say men and women are different, this and that. So I don't care if this might come off like a blanket statement, but my girlfriend and most that I've dated, they love and it's such a cliche, like the agenda to have this to-do list of what they want to get out. And I enjoy that my girlfriend likes to know all these things. Like we went traveling, we were in Colombia over the summer, and I'm one of those, let's see what's down that alley.
Yeah.
Not in a sketchy way, but like, let's go. And she's like, no. We're going to know where we're going to be after breakfast. Like I'm like, all right, cool. And then, I put my 2 cents in, we do the hike. There's a mango beer at the top, whatever. Like,
right.
It's like she's the structure. I don't want to say it's a control thing, but there's something to her that really likes knowing, what the framework is. And I don't know if comedy has the framework. So she has to deal with wanting control in a world where I don't necessarily have control.
Yeah.
And that's kind of tough to, not only do I have to release control, but she has to kind of release control that I have no control.
I think there's things that you can do, and it can just be little things, even if it's just like, here are 4 nights of the week that I'm going to concentrate all my sets onto, and that way you guys can have the other 3. Like when Ash and I first dated, about a year into us dating, I'd be gone every night. And it was like, this isn't fair to me. She runs a spin studio.
Oh, nice.
So when we were starting out dating, it's like she's getting up for work at 6 a.m. and I'm coming home from work at like 2 or 3 a.m.
Right.
So it really was about like, living together certainly helps because you guys.
It does help.
You get to come home to
live
each other,
together.
you get to wake up
short
to each other.
into our relationship.
Yeah, us too. And it makes it so 3/4 of your conversations aren't, when am I going to see you again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And financially, it's nice too.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's little ways to, I think, break things up.
So at what point did she talk to you? Like, was she like, oh, geez, I'm not getting the quality time I need? Or how did that conversation happen where you went from all 7 nights to finding out, you're right, I need to breathe more life into this?
It was not an easy conversation because, again, like the first year and a half was like, this is comedy. Like, don't come between me and this. This is an unrealistic dream that I have. And my parents have told me it's not going to work out. I'm not looking to bring another person into my life where it's like...
Well, statistically...
My parents never said it wasn't going to work out, but it was just like, you should do it, but maybe like have maybe go take some classes and go to college and, have these other avenues available for if this doesn't work out.
Well, you hear a lot of projection from older comedians that have been divorced, and they say, good luck, like it's just, good luck, you got a year. Like Kirk Fox, I met him, and I love him. He's cool, but he was like, dude, this ain't gonna work for you. The relationship, not the stand-up. Right. He was like, I see you're gonna stick to the stand. It's not gonna work in a relationship. And it's been 3 years since then. I'm like, but I'm not trying to prove people wrong. I'm trying to not be so selfish that all I care about is my stand-up, because at the end of the day, I don't want to look back and be like, really, all I had to do is pump the brakes a little bit, enjoy a little bit of my life, and try to balance it together. I mean,
it's really like what's important. Like, I love comedy so much, but also like, what good is that if you don't have anyone to share it with?
Right.
I mean, I didn't want to have that conversation, but when you lay it all down on paper, so to speak, it's like, yeah, that's not a relationship. That's us sleeping next to each other.
Right. And men will, I mean, a lot of times we'll be out pursuing the passion, the creative passion, the dream, and we really need a strong woman to tell us, like, okay, I'm happy you're doing that, and I know that's number one, but I'm not number two. I'm just like, I got to be on the side. So it's not like parallel to that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always mean minute for minute, you do this, you do that, but it means like, I look at it like kind of every week. Like, did we do enough this week? I mean, even I'll break it down to the day. Like, even if all I have is a phone call between point A and point B, that's better than her thinking I'm not thinking of her.
Yeah, and also there's like a relationship will get to a certain point where it becomes your greatest motivator. Like, for me now, like, I think I'm doing fine. Like, I get to pay a mortgage with money I made from jokes this month, which is an insane thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That I'll probably cry about later. But also, it's like, okay, you have a fiance, you have a mortgage, you have all these things, that you have all these responsibilities, and you have decided the way you're going to provide for all that is with comedy. So fucking wake up early, get going. Like, you have to keep this wave building.
Yeah.
Go.
That's my thing is always like, my retirement fund is the fact that I don't have one. Yeah. That's my retirement fund, because I know I've got to make shit happen. Mm-hmm. And if I was single living in a flop house with a bunch of comics, I might not have to do the side job and the this and the that and the really hustle and push myself to that level. So, when you, and I hate when they say, oh, art, but with our art, with stand up, it really comes from this place that there has to be like this desperate motivator where you don't want to portray that on stage, but that's like, everyone's had a moment where they had a fucking quiet cry in their car, or just a moment where they're like, fuck, man, am I the last one on this earth that believes in me right now?
Yeah.
Plenty of times I don't think my girlfriend believes in me. And it's probably my own thought, but she wants a lot of, I think she understands that I need to cross this finish line and reach a level of success that I appreciate, or else I'm going to be like resentful. Like, I'm not going to, like, you couldn't pay me $1 million a year to go do door-to-door sales. You just couldn't.
Yeah.
Money's just not the motivating force in my life to that extent. I definitely want the house. Yeah. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to perform on the road and be able to make a weekend out of it with my girl, like my lady. And I want all those things. I want the experiences and the freedom to make those happen on my own terms.
If it wasn't for Ashton, I would be more than happy to live in a car and tell jokes. But I think because of Ashton, I work much harder than I would have. I think there's a lot of comics where it's very easy to have 6 roommates and sleep on a couch, and you do jokes every night, and you go to every open mic. But you might get more sets than me. You might be around comedy more than me. But it's not going anywhere, and not that I am necessarily. But
no, you're doing great, and it sounds like you got a counter product. Your team, you and your fiance. It's like we're kind of, you need a little bit of abrasiveness, and I mean this in a positive way. Like, I've got some friction with my girlfriend, and it's creating a real drive in me to make this shit happen and not wait. Oh, they say it takes 12 years.
You also need a life to draw from.
Yeah.
sleeping on couches and living in cars, that's not material that any audience outside of Los Angeles is going to be able to connect with.
Right.
You know, you don't see these road dogs talking
It's
about
just a fun story.
this car
when
that I live in, or
yeah,
the coffee bean on Sunset.
and I have romanticized the thought of living in my car. I've been like, oh fuck, I could totally
I lived
shower
in a
at the
car
gym
for a year and a half.
Really?
Yeah, and I would have friends. I had a gym membership for showers, or in Orange County where I was for a good chunk of it. There's all these gated communities that have their own clubhouses. So I would just get into the neighborhood or follow cars in and
Wow.
hop the fence. It's just so
And,
gross.
and were you, after a year and a half, were you completely burned out, or could you have kept going?
I could have kept going. Honestly, I mean that was even before comedy. So
That's what women need to realize, that men, we really, it's not. It's like, it's the white picket fence. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the idea of like watching a movie in the morning and having my coffee in my own place and this and that. It's not far from what I have now, other than I'm renting a studio.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I could love that idea, but I could also love the idea of you see the comics who are like, I'm just gonna get rid of my car and I'm just gonna do or I'm just gonna get rid of my apartment and do road shows for the next year. And just I love when I hear those stories, and I'm like, fuck, that's.
And there's amazing comics that I look up to that still do that,
Yeah.
And it's honestly, if you're touring that much, it doesn't make sense
Get the RV.
to have a place.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Have a storage unit and have a good friend with a guest room.
But so you've got, and we'll get out of here in a few minutes. We're approaching an hour. But you had this, obviously this kind of the mudslide slowing you down. You really putting things into perspective. You got a fresh engagement, and then you decide to build a comedy club.
Yeah.
So that thread that I read online was the coolest thing ever. I love those do-it-yourself sort of threads online where it's like, here's the empty room, now here's the stage. And watch me how I got to the finish line. What the fuck happened? Like, how did that happen?
My future father-in-law, he has a business called Glow Zone. There's one in Woodland Hills. He essentially, her father is like, makes money in the coolest ways. Like, essentially, if you walked up to like 7-year-old me or you and was like, here's $4 million, go build a business. That's kind of like what he's done. He created a glow-in-the-dark amusement park.
Really?
With like ropes courses and laser tag and all this stuff. And he started franchising them. And he found a location in Orange County that was too big, and it already had a kitchen and a bar. And it was like, I found this spot. We're going to make the amusement park over here, but there's this whole corner I don't know what to do with. It already has a kitchen, and they have a banquet room that apparently guys did comedy shows in once a week.
That's amazing.
And we're going to bulldoze it all, but if you want to tell me how to build it. And I said no. And then he's like, well, why? And I explained I don't want to be a guy who owns a comedy club. I want to be the comic touring the comedy club. And
it's a weird thing that we have where because traditionally the comics that got into the business of owning clubs, no one took seriously. They'd get up and do some spots, but like, come on, everyone would be friends with them because they want stage time, but no one would take them seriously.
I still feel that. I mean, even just running the Lyric in LA, when that was up and running, people like to put you in boxes, and it's like, are you a person who buys talent, or are you the talent? How if an agent is approaching you, how are they approaching you? And most of the time, it's to get their clients stage time. So it's been a really it's something I'm pretty sensitive about, even with featuring, and running 25 to 30 minutes.
You're so far away.
Before.
Yeah, you're so far away from what that comedy club owner. You know what I mean? You're so far away from that. You're all over the road. You know what I mean? You're in such a good place.
But even still, it's,
really?
Nobody at UTA is looking at me as a comedian. They're looking at me as this guy who has a club. Nobody's
really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Because I'm not the force selling tickets. You can be the funniest guy in the world, but nobody's buying tickets to see me at. I'm very, very lucky that one of my closest friends is one of the biggest comics in the country, and I get to open for her.
Absolutely.
But I mean,
yeah, but you've got, because in any other career, the whole idea of I love the mantra, leap and the net will appear. It's the law of attraction. If there's something that you want, you build it. If it doesn't exist, it's the field of dreams. Mm-hmm. So you've created a comedy club that you can work out at. But what's probably more important is you provide other comics the chance to work out. which is amazing. I mean, that's amazing. Like whenever I don't even produce a show, but in the few shows that I have produced, I just get this awesome feeling when I can pay, or if it's a paid show or unpaid show, give people $10 and be like, "Hey, good set, man." And that's like a really powerful thing as a comic to be able to do for your peers. So I don't know. I can totally understand that feeling of like, not even wanting people to know you do that. But that's a really noble thing that you have that.
Yeah, I mean, and I've put someone else in charge of booking. You know, there's a guy named Terry who does all the booking, and I have this guy named Kenny. He's this local comic who is spectacular, and he's like reminds me of me just when I was starting out at the Lyric, and he just cares. Kenny's probably the only reason I can still tour and have the club, just because he cares as much as I do.
Yeah. How many nights a week are you doing shows there? I mean, we have, so this is in Orange County, right?
It's Huntington Beach.
Because we have some people in Huntington Beach. Go check this club out. It's called the Rec Room.
The Rec Room, yeah. And I think we were in last week we had like 4 shows. The week before that we had 6 shows.
Amazing.
And we're getting good comics.
Yeah.
You know?
I've seen the lineups. I mean, Iliza did it.
Iliza's
and she probably
done it a couple
packed
times.
it to the gills, I'm sure.
We've had
How many seats
Rory
can you put in there?
180.
Okay, great.
Jay Moore's done it twice. David Keckner, Rory Scovel, Natasha
Aside from
Leggero,
the Irvine Improv, there really isn't a club. Is that even close by? I still don't know SoCal that well.
Comedy Magic Club in Hermosa Beach is amazing.
Yeah.
I've never even been there, and I was embarrassed to open this place in Huntington Beach just because Comedy Magic it's such an institution, and they take such great care of comics. That's there. There's a Laugh Factory in Long Beach.
That's true.
But I've never been there, and from what I hear, it's just too big. It's like an 800-seat place next to a convention center.
Yeah. No, that sounds really like 180 seats is a good. I mean, comedy. Yeah, you want a place where you can pack some people in and really capture that energy.
Yeah, I mean, comedy is best in tight, low ceiling, dimly lit, tightly packed rooms. You know,
which is funny because that's not what you did for this for. Is it Oakland? Is that where you've?
Oh yeah, so, for the Netflix special.
That's insane. You were on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, we were on an aircraft carrier. It's the coolest thing ever, and I have all these pictures, and I can't post them. But yeah,
that must be amazing.
We were on the USS Hornet, so it was weird. I got to tell jokes in front of fighter jets and bombers. And
that sounds like a fake name, the USS Hornet.
Yeah,
it sounds like something you would just like randomly call the USS Hornet.
Yeah,
and then was the audience just? Could anybody go, or was it a military audience?
No, it was a ticketed event. All the a huge chunk of the proceeds went to Team Rubicon. So all the money pretty much went back to the troops. But it was a smaller crowd compared to what we've been doing. But I think it was 500.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think each taping held 550.
Wow.
Where the night, 2 nights. Well, we did Flappers to run it just before the taping, and then literally the day before that, we were in Florida. So, they were great. Both crowds were spectacular. The set was so cool. Iliza crushed.
And that's going to be on Netflix?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm so excited.
That's really cool. Yeah. It's really cool that you get to work with someone who seems to treat you as like a friend.
Yeah. We are absolutely friends.
That's not how I'm not trying to. My experience, I was a second-year comic opening for a 30-year vet. Mm-hmm. I was not talking to him as a friend. I wasn't going like, hey, let's go do press together. I was like, just not feeling welcomed.
Yeah, I mean.
So that's really great.
Long before I was funny, I think it was, Hunter's my friend. He's not a creepy guy. I like traveling with him. And then I think, thankfully, I got funny,
yeah.
But yeah, she's great. People.
Does she hang out with your girlfriend or your fiance? Sorry.
Yeah, we just went to a birthday dinner for her.
Oh, nice.
For Iliza on, what was it? Saturday.
I try to watch her Instagram stories, but she has a lot of posts. I got to watch every couple.
She posts a lot.
Yeah, I click through it, and then if it looks good, I listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a commitment. But she goes to my gym. She goes to the gym and she brings her dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it Crunch or?
Yeah, it goes to Crunch. Yeah.
We hang out as much as we can. Like we did a couples trip on 4th of July. We all went an Airbnb to a place in Napa. We try. I mean, like we're both working so hard. All of us. I mean, Ashton's working hard. Eliza's working hard. Eliza's fiance is doing all sorts of stuff. So it's crazy.
Ashton's not. You mentioned the 9 to 5 schedule. Though she does spin and teach, and she doesn't work in like a 9 to 5, does she?
No, and she doesn't even teach spin. She just built the studios.
Okay, cool.
So she just owns 2 businesses. So yeah, man, it just starting out and even still, like, it is so great dating someone that also has something that they're crazy passionate about, you know, where it's like, I'm not looking for a partner to come into my life and check all these boxes that I'm missing. Like, I can fill all my own boxes, but I want to find someone who also has all their boxes filled and that they're motivated. And it's so dumb, but I feel like we're just like this megazord that comes together.
That's it. That's a Venn diagram. Like, you're good on your end, she's good on hers. The dessert is the relationship, and that's so important. We have people listening, divorced. Not that that's wrong, but like people that are single and people that are in shitty relationships, and they don't know why because they love the person, but there's resentment and all. And it comes down to just, you gotta both take care of yourselves, not be like some vine that overcomes another tree. Both kind of just grow next to each other.
Yeah,
that's, I think, the only way you can make this shit work. And I'm not there yet, and who knows, but like, really try to grow together without one, overshadowing the other.
It's never going to stop. Life's going to continue to happen, and you gotta grow and evolve. And the person I'm in love with right now might be a different person in 10 years. But hopefully you grow and you evolve and you continue to love who each person's growing into.
Yeah, and I think if you're present in the moment. And listening to the other person in the moment, you don't have this wake up 5 years down the road where you're like, I'm fucking unhappy, I'm miserable. What the hell happened? Because in the moment, you're adjusting to their needs and your needs, and you're kind of like figuring out. And as long as your goals are still aligned and the passions are still there, you're going to be, shooting upwards.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're just sweeping stuff under the rug and like, it'll get better. It's not going to.
And I've been guilty but it doesn't last long, a day or two. I just can't babe, like I just can't. Yeah. And I'm not the one who gets mad. I'm the codependent one, or I'll be the one who's like, I'd rather fix whatever is wrong with her, which isn't healthy at all. But like, but that's still like that. I'm gonna have that. That's going to be there forever.
You want to take care of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a nurturer.
But also at the same time, she'll say something and the dickhead inside me will just kind of be like, why are you upset? Like, I just took you out. And then I'll immediately regret saying that, because it's like, now I'm leveraging the fact that, what I did yesterday for today, and that's not it doesn't. There's no rollover points past a.
I'm definitely you shouldn't keep score. Like, every day should be a new day. But there's definitely like in February, I think we were touring so much. I think I maybe slept at home 6 nights this month. But while I was gone, it was like, here's a flower delivery. Here's some Sonos speakers for the house. Here's more flowers. You're just like bath bombs. So just like there's little things.
That's amazing.
And
how worth it is it? I mean, it's so. My buddy was in a fight with his girlfriend. He's like, dude, I don't get it. Blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, just find out what you were at least at fault a tiny bit.
Yeah.
And apologize and bring home flowers. And the next day he's like, dude, she came home. The flowers waiting for her. We had sex on the couch. I was like, yeah, you're welcome. Because that's like something we're just way over. Like, no, you got to fix things. Like, just maybe a little empathy and just understand that they're trying their best. We're trying our best. And
even if you didn't do anything wrong, it really doesn't fucking matter, because in her head something's wrong, and you got to figure out.
And if you didn't do something wrong, and you really in your head, if I'm like, I fucking know I meant well.
Yeah.
It's just like on stage. Well, if the audience, and her being the audience, didn't receive it that way, it doesn't matter what your intention was. You have to tweak whatever happened in the the universe that got from you to her.
Yeah.
And then just and be humbled by that, and understand that even though because I'll be like, sometimes like, I wish I had a fucking recording or a little video going of what this went down, and everyone would be on my side.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's like, well, what does that get you? Being right is not the answer.
There's some times where I'm brave enough to rewind a conversation and just verbally read it back to her. And sometimes she'll be like, Okay, you're right. I was crazy.
And a lot of times what happens with me is I'll be like, yeah, babe, that wasn't my intention, but I understand that you're taking it this way.
Right.
And look, I totally understand. I believe you. I hear you. And I'm sorry. And then like, whatever, I'll go walk the dog or something. Or if she has to leave for work and then I'll get a text, babe, thanks, man. Yeah, I was stressed and I needed it. And it's like, oh, okay. Because that could have been a big fight.
Yeah.
That could have been like, fuck you. And then I'm thinking about sleeping in the car parked next to you. And we're just, who's winning now? You know what I mean? Dude, we got to get out of here, but thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so
tell
much
people
for
how they
having
can find you, your social media.
Sure. On Twitter, I'm at Hunter_Hill. On Instagram, I'm Hunter Says What. Facebook, Hunter Hill Comedy.
And then the Rec Room.
The Rec Room HB across all social media. And then my website is just hunterhillcomedy.com.
Great. Well, dude, it was so good to see you perform and kill the other night. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, dude,
and come back anytime. And if your fiance ever wants to come on, we'll do a double date episode.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
That would be fun.
Okay, cool. And then I'll make Tasha do spin.
Yeah, we should all do it.
All right. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks again.
We'll see you next time, everyone. Bye, guys.
Cheers.